Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dychronic. You're here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at this week at Bungie for March 5th, 2020. Basically, your news blog post about Destiny 2 in the past week, current week, and the next few weeks of Destiny 2. And of course, my versions of the TWAB are obviously your audible versions with cute, fluffy animals near the beginnings of my videos because I like cute, fluffy animals. And let me tell you, any day you get to go to Google and type in cute animals is a good day. And of course, it's also my way of saying like the video without being in your face and telling you to like the video! Now I feel awkward because I asked you to like the video. Here, you get an extra cute animal. That's it. 5, that's I can't do more. Anyways, this week at Bungie, I would say is a medium amount of information. In a nutshell, they have some bits of information about Season of the Worthy here, talking about the calendar, a kind of Trials Return hashtag thing going on Twitter, some changes to the power cap and the pinnacle gear opportunities, some changes to Eververse, as well as these weird looking armor sets and finishers coming in. And then finally, a final preview of the patch notes of things that are going to be coming to Destiny 2 in the next Season of Worthy, and there's a lot of things, as well as new investments and interface, and of course Dr. Bungie at the bottom. So that's a nutshell what's going on. Let's get into it. There's going to be a lot of reading for me to do. First and foremost, this first section has the new Season of the Worthy gameplay trailer. I recommend it's only 2 minutes long, where they go through and they show some really cool cinematics with some loud music. There's on a Bray, there's a Vala, there's a showcase of some of the new weapons, including, you just saw that, the quad barrel shotgun. Some cool stuff. So I recommend you check this out. This will be on the TWAB. On top of that, they also released the new Season of the Worthy calendar rollout. First of all, I will mention that this is out of order. You see March 10th, 13th, 10 to 24. You see April 7th here, 21 here. Lots of weird stuff. For the most part, you can glean most of the things here. There's not a lot of things. It's a smaller DLC, obviously. You have the new PvE activity. That's going to be kind of like the Sundial, Trials of Osiris, endgame PvP. The new Seraph Bunker Lost Sectors. They're legendary Lost Sectors, including an extra one releasing later. Pretty much the same standard style that we've seen before. The new higher difficulty Grandmaster Ordeal Nightfall Strike difficulty. And finally, the Guardian Games, which seems like an Olympic style thing where every person is going to have to represent a certain class, Titan, Warlock, or Hunter, and probably do certain things that will give more points to those respective classes. My assumption is because there are mostly Hunters out there, it's like 36% Hunters out there, so only slightly, but definitely more, the Hunters are going to win. So I need the Titans out there to focus up and get some goddamn Titan points. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully there's double XP. On top of that, there's going to be a lot of other things, including exotic quests, new artifacts, new ranks, exotic armors, new exotic weapons, a bunch of stuff that's not seen here, and this thing down at the bottom that says and more. So this is probably not going to be it. This is just the first look at it. This section here is just a bit of a warning because of the COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak. They may have to push back the release of the next DLC, but they currently still have plans to release on March 10th and the Trials of Osiris to release on March 13th. I just wanted to make a mention that it may happen. Hashtag Trials Return. If you want to show off one of your Destiny 1 Trials of Osiris moments and hopefully get features in the movies of the week in the next TWAB, all you have to do is submit some hashtag Trials Return on Twitter. Next up, let's talk about some power gain changes. First of all, the cap is going to be raised by 40 points. So if you're trying to get to 970 before the end of the season, don't worry about it. The powerful cap will then be raised to 1000 and the pinnacle cap up to 1010, allowing us, forcing us, encouraging us, that's better, encouraging us to go for the powerful gear stuff instead of just being straight centered around pinnacle if you go for pinnacle every single season. Which is good because I stopped playing a lot of different activities because I just didn't need to. On top of that, they're going to be adding more pinnacle options, including the weekly Crucible Strike and Gambit challenges, which I gotta be honest with you, I don't like. As a person that plays a lot, obviously I'm a bit biased in this thing, but they said they want to return more back towards the Destiny 1 days, where getting that endgame gear was the only way to get to the top, and now they're just going back on what they said like last season. Why? Pick what you want. You've gone back and forth, making it easier to get to the top, making it harder to get to the top, making it easier, harder, easier. Make up your mind. People are gonna complain either way. You just gotta pick a philosophy and go with it. Personally, 10 power between like 1000 power and 1010 is not much, especially when you incorporate the artifact bonus. It's negligible, to be honest with you, so I still think they should remain those pinnacle power drop for the pinnacle endgame activities. On top of that, there's going to be some changes to the artifact. As Luke mentioned last week in his direct character's cut. The artifact power bonus will be disabled in Iron Banner and Trials of the Osiris, not the 9, of Osiris, because they give you a weird high amount of unlimited bonus in these activities that have power advantages enabled. However, unfortunately, in Season of the Worthy, they're not going to be able to deploy that fix or that particular change right away. They will have to deploy that in the following week on March 17th. However, first week of Trials, not going to be affected that much when everyone has a brand new artifact. And this is only a temporary fix. They're looking to make a better fix for the artifact in PvP in the coming season. Next up, let's talk about the Eververse changes. There's not a lot of changes. First of all, they took out Bright Engrams as a purchasable item from the store. There's still going to be Bright Engrams in the Season Pass, and in place of the Bright Engrams, they're going to have a daily rotation of returning items. So stuff from previous seasons, you'll be able to purchase that for actual silver, which is real money premium currency, in a rotating daily returning item, which is a good way to do it. Personally, I think the Bright Engram should include current season items, because it's absolute bull that I have to wait a whole season to try to get the previous season item. Let me tell you, as somebody who's actually rich as hell in Destiny 2, I'm running out of Bright Dust, and I don't buy things every week. Okay, well, I buy things every once in a while. You've seen my resets, I do buy stuff. But like, I'm running out, so you're having a problem here. Next up, can I just say, this armor set is jank. Firstly, this is the Titan over here that looks kind of like a Warlock. Weird mismatch of Hawthorne-esque armor that looks kind of like the guys in the background. The Warlock is kind of cool, weird circles, little dragon phoenix bird over here, similar to that first armor set we got for Warlocks, but again, very similar to like the drip drab of the tower. And then finally we have the Hunter, which looks like a Titan with a very cool looking mask. I want this mask. Looks like Emil's mask from Halo Reach. Oh, look at this ghost. I didn't even look at these ghosts. This is the Almighty. Oh, that's cute. With a Titan looking arms, a Titan buff chest piece, and of course it's the cape. That's how you know it's the Hunter. But Hunters are getting a good look. Everyone else is like, ugh, it's weird. I don't know. There's also going to be some new finishers, so all the different classes are having new finishers. And may I just say, again, the Titan looks like a Warlock, and his finisher looks like a Warlock finisher. I don't know what's going on. You make Titans great again, damn it. Coming up on the Guardian Games, we can't afford to look stupid. Come on, Bungie, you can't do this to us. And finally, the final preview of the patch notes. The full patch notes will be releasing as soon as the patch releases on March 10th. This is going to be the part 2 of the patch notes, part 1 being on the previous TWAB. Check out that video if you want to know more. A bunch of changes here I definitely agree with are going to be quite good. So let's get started here with the Hunters. First up, we have the Assassin's Cowl, which basically gives you invisibility when you use a finisher in PvE and a melee kill in PvP. Will now trigger in PvE on powered melee kills, allowing you to trigger that more effectively, not just bonus or not specifically triggered on finishers. And on top of that, you'll get a better bonus to the duration based on the tier of enemies you defeat. And finally, Arcstaff no longer activates this perk. A bit of a nerf to Frosties. No longer will the ability regeneration stack multiplicatively with other class ability energy regenerating perks. Kefri's Sting, making your smoke bombs do 150% more damage, which is an improvement, but might still not use this exotic. Orpheus Rigs, god damn it, they're breaking my baby again, making it so the maximum amount of super you can gain from this, 50%. God damn it, Bungie, if I tether 20 enemies, I goddamn expect to get a full goddamn super. You cannot take this away from me. Even then, 50% is still a great amount, and it's very effective and very useful. It's just, that's it. Nobody really talks about this anymore. Come on, Bungie. And finally, for the Hunters, Young Kara's spine based on trip mines is also increasing the explosion radius by, weirdly, 14%. Next up, for the Titans, a lot of really good changes, including Ashen Wake, what I consider probably the third worst exotic in the entire game. Where it basically gives you like fast ball and instant exploding fusion grenades, will now also give you a bonus of fusion grenade energy once you get kills with fusion grenades, based on the tier of enemy kills. So you can actually get your grenade back with your grenade, which is good. Although I still don't think it's going to be top dog. For Antaeus Ward, that slide shield that you get no longer allows chip damage through. Doomfang Pauldrons fixed a bug where your melee attacks during your super gave you super. Instead, that's only supposed to be for the shield throw. Dune Marchers, going to be increasing the radius of the static charge melee thing to 20 meters up from 12. MK44 stand-aside's gonna make it a smaller delay between the start of sprinting and getting that little overshield in front of you. A really, really big one, they are, again, nerfing One-Eyed Mask. Finally, they're gonna be removing the targeted enemies through wall thing, which was the thing that was the most powerful thing. Instead, they're going to be making it and replacing it with the highlighting. So if you can actually see the enemy, they'll be highlighted with red. So you actually have to see the enemy, cannot see them through walls. Finally! But even then, I still think this exotic will be very good for PvP. On top of that, you're no longer going to be getting your bonus damage when you're defeating a marked target, but they will be giving back that overshield that it generates from defeating a marked target, which now has a duration of 6 seconds, down from 8, which I think is a benefit, by the way. Making it so your overshield charges in a shorter amount of time I think is a benefit. And finally, for the Titan's Severance Enclosure, the exotic they released this season, where it triggers on a finisher in PvE or a melee kill in PvP, where you get an explosion on that kill, will now trigger on powered melee kills, very similar to the Cowl update we saw above, and also the radius and damage will be affected by the tier of enemy defeated. And finally, for the Warlock, we have a couple of changes to different exotics. Apotheosis Veil, which is based on getting benefits from popping your super, is now guaranteed to drop with a minimum 16 intellect. A very odd way to make this better, although it is in line with this exotic. I just feel like I'm gonna forget that this is a thing. Controverse Hold is also getting a nerf. We saw in the previous TWAB that the handheld Supernova was getting nerfed in many ways. The Controverse Hold is also getting nerfed, where basically they're gonna be mitigating the damage reduction of this exotic to 20%, down from 40%. For some reason, they're going to be completely redesigning the Sanguine Alchemy, an exotic that came out in Warmind that Warlocks have been secretly abusing for a long time, that allows you to see through walls when you're in your rift. Now, they're going to completely redesign it, which is bullshit, because the current way is actually interesting. Its new perk, Blood Magic, allowing the wearer to pause the cooldown of timers in a rift by getting weapon kills in the rift, extending the duration. Personally, I'm not really that attached to my rifts. I don't really care about this exotic, and now it's become probably the 4th worst exotic in the game, and that pisses me off, because this was in my top 10 this time. However, obviously if they remove the mark through walls for the Titan, this could have become the new One-Eyed Mask problem, so I guess they're trying to be a little bit proactive. For Ophidian Aspects, now increases the lunge range of all Warlock melee attacks, even if the ability is on cooldown, which I honestly don't understand, because currently it just says melee lunge range extended. I don't know why. Maybe it's a buff or a typo. And finally, we have Verity's Brow, an exotic that's just kind of averaging but also universal, that gives you grenade buffs to you and your teammates for getting energy weapon kills. This buff provided by this exotic now increases your grenade damage 10% per stack, which is really nice, which I assume has to do with the number of allies that you buff near you. The buff to allies grenade recharge rate now kicks in when you cast the grenade rather than the kills or the activation of the grenade. And finally, this exotic now gives you a buff text notification on screen indicating how many allies are currently benefiting from your grenade recharge. Personally, I would like to see a full team 6 of Warlocks with Verity's Brow just getting energy weapon kills with Recluse, but in the end, this exotic cannot really be that good because it's so universal. It's just energy weapon kills. No subclass requirement, no specific thing outside of energy weapon kills. And if it ever becomes something that is better than other options, it will be too powerful. Next up, for investments, lots of really cool parts in here. First of all, for the legendary engrams, they're going to be increasing the number of armor sets available in world drops for the random legendary engrams to 11 sets, which are up from 3. This will include the new faction, or this will include the old faction rally armors, which I have been waiting for forever to use my faction rally stuff, and I really like the look of a lot of these. The Raincatcher shoulders of the Titans and some of the new Monarchy ones for the Hunter are really nice. Lots of great options here. I'm glad they're going to be bringing these back. And also, may I just say, I have been holding a full set of all 3 different factions for all 3 of my classes in my vault for so long that they're finally telling me that I've wasted all that time and space. 45 slots. Just waste it now, because they're no longer going to be bringing back Faction Rally. Luke Smith said it in the last director's cut. Faction rallies are out, so all that armor I've been holding on to it's just worthless, and I've been wasting my time. That kind of pisses me off. But in the end, we'll be getting new Armor 2.0 versions, so I guess that's better. I was just hoping Faction Rally would come out with Armor 2.0 versions, you know, and I could get a benefit. On top of that, there's going to be some changes for the higher stat roles. Prime engrams and exotics will now guarantee you a overall higher stat roll distribution, more spikier distribution, allowing you to have bigger spikes in certain categories. And of course, the legendary armors will now have those lower rolls included on top of higher rolls. For user interface, there's going to be a lot of settings in the UI layouts that are going to be added to consoles that already have been added to the PC experience, including the ability to change your reticle, adding hint text during loading screens, adding more comma separators during glimmer and loot streams, no longer keeping me awake at night. Yes, I agree. I hate when there's disparagement between things. And finally, something we did mention last week is they're adding more categories to the quest screen, allowing you to procrastinate on certain stuff and just remove that from view, which are going to include these new categories. And finally, there's going to be some performance issues that are going to be fixed, including some UI stuttering and frame drops when applying mods. Very big thing in console, and it's really annoying, and finally getting that over with. Improving frame rates in Gambit and Gambit Prime, where they have a lot of enemies on the field. Fixing frame rate issues with the Guard of Salvation raid. Frame rate issues with the Pit of Heresy dungeon. Fix a stutter issue with high frame rate on PC. May I just say, boo-hoo, PC people with high frame rate finally have to come down to the dogs. Obviously, it's a problem, but like, it's funny that high frame rate PC people complain. And general improvements to performance on PC when there's a lot of debris on the ground. And finally, before we get into Dr. Bungie, count how many times I said finally in this episode. It's definitely a very high amount. They're going to be changing the reset to 10 a.m. Why? Because daylight savings is going to be happening on March 8th. If you don't know, the reset is immune to daylight saving. So the new daily and weekly reset will be 10 a.m. Pacific time, following March 8th on the release of daylight savings. I just said the release of daylight savings, like it's a company that's releasing a product. And finally, we come upon the Dr. Bungie section headed by the blue thing at the top. Going to be talking about known issues, updates coming in the future. Firstly, for the new season, the Season of the Worthy kickoff on March 10th, there's going to be some downtime. The downtime is going to be from 8:45 to 10:01 a.m. Pacific time. And of course, the rollout for all of the DLC will be coming out at 9 a.m. So you can start downloading at 9 a.m. And hopefully that download finishes installing and copying, as the kids say, by 10 a.m. And the very last thing, which I will finally be telling you, gotta add that one to the counter, are going to be the upcoming Resolved Issues Part 1. We saw fuck. I've mushed my words so many times in this one. Part 2. We saw Part 1 in the previous TWAB. There's going to be a couple of changes that should be resolved following that March 10th update. First up, the Hunter's Tempest Strike melee ability, which is that slide and uppercut with the Way of the Current, can now be performed on PC controls where sprint is set to hold. May I just say, I'm going to call out all you hold to sprint PC players out there, you must have a pinky of the gods, because so much running. So much running through strikes. How could you do that? Honestly, Bungie, reverse this. They deserve more pain. F them. Using hold to sprint. What kind of game do you play? This next part is something that has literally been a problem since the game came out that they'll hopefully be fixing again. They've mentioned it a few times. Ranged melee abilities don't count for certain melee bounties. They should count with this update. Something I haven't seen in a long time, the fastidious Miser Triumph, which is tied to the Ascendant chests in the Cursed Weeks of the Dreaming City, is having some issues correctly giving you progress for certain players. They're hopefully going to fix that. I can't tell you how many times they were like, hey, that Taken Sparrow with the fastidious Miser and the eggs thing, we're going to fix that in the next patch. And then like the next week, it's like, we didn't fix it. We'll do it next time. And finally, the weekly strike bounties for Hive and Vex boss kills will now properly award for Savathun Songzol and Dendron Rudemind, which obviously is a problem because I have been seeing so many times where it's like, 2 out of 3, I've just done 4 strikes. How is that possible? And that's it. The end of it's gonna be movies of the week. Some dude looking at a bunch of the creatures in Destiny, which I didn't even realize. There's like a reptilian like spider bat that's like somewhere on Nessus. There's lots of little creatures throughout the world. This video for 15 minutes talks about that in a Destiny geographic like style. A good video, although a bit lengthy. But that's it. That's the end of this week at Bungie. If you have any questions, if you had any concerns, or if you had any tips for me, or if you just like cute animals, let me know in the comments down below. But that's it. Of course, my name's Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.